Okay, so we thought that we couldn't push it past the late fifth marriage Pentecost, and that was our last prediction, Adar 9, which was March 9-10, for the second and third fire signs of 1 Kings 18. But actually it came about on the 7th. So you need something that is the 7th. And we thought that the Super Pentecost on Adar 9 was the 7th, and it would have been, had it been the tuft of hair ransom, a rapture day, of Ezekiel 8, when a tuft of hair is people in subjection to a head, and it's the head of this church, and we're only small, and so it's the entirety of this church really. Well, rather all those who are in the 2NC in this church, who are engaged to be married to the mediator of the 2NC, which is me. And so we were expecting to be raptured in order to see the fire sign on the 9th. We weren't. So it wasn't that 7th. The reason that's the 7th is it says in Genesis 7:10, and it came about to repeat 7 days, or repeat 7 days, and the deluge of waters came upon the earth. And it's 7 days of ark entrance of saints that is referring to, because the previous verses are all about Noah going in and his wife and his sons' wives, and these are all the saints. Noah is Jesus. I mean, Noah built an ark. Jesus has built this ark, the ark that saves us all, well, 50% of us at least, from the lava flood and from Satan's WMDs and from coronavirus and the deadly plague and from the wild beasts and from famine. It was built by Jesus Christ. He's the greater Noah. And the 7th day of ark entry for saints we thought was the 9th. Now we realise it's the 11th, which is today. So this would be the first 7th after the Super Pentecost, which was not a 7th day, because the only 7th we thought it could be. Well, there were two possibilities. One, we thought it might be the 7th 1NC marriage Pentecost. It isn't, because there was no late first marriage Pentecost. They got appointed over the 1NCs at the second 1NC Pentecost, which wasn't on Thames 9, 2008, which wasn't a late version or regular version of the marriage Pentecost, which was Sivan 11 or Tammuz 11, 2008. So 2019 Adar 9 was actually the 6th marital 1NC marriage Pentecost, not the 7th. So it wasn't the 7th. So when you got a Super Pentecost that isn't a 7th, you have to go to the first 7th after the Super Pentecost. 7th day, that is. And the reason we didn't go with this before is we knew it must the latest be Adar 11, and the Sabbath is Adar 13, and we didn't see Adar 11 as a 7th. But now that we understand that it's the tuft of hair ransom of Ezekiel 8, that means it's the 7th day of entry for saints into the ark, and so it is the 7th. And on that basis we're going for Adar 11, and other bases actually, we're going for Adar 11 for the ark rapture. Also, the length of the inner gates of the temple of Ezekiel 47 and 46 is 52 cubits externally, less 6 cubits for the width of the wall of the actual temple, making 46 cubits, less 1.5 cubits for the width of the gate into the temple, which makes 44.5 cubits. So if you take that as the length of time it takes to seal somebody, then since we know that the end of CRC ark entry is Sivan 4 2020, and that must be the end of CRC sealing, you count 44.5 days back from that, and you get to 2020 Nisan 20, and then 40-day deluge prior to that must begin 40 days earlier than that, inclusively, which is Adar 11. And the deluge is caused by the fire signs. The fire signs are on Adar 11 from that reason. Also, in 1 Kings 19, Elisha is ploughing with 12 yoke of cattle, and he was with the 12th, which means that the concept of 12 yoke is repeated in the same verse, which means it's 12 precisely. And 12 yoke is 24 cattle, and that means that Elisha is ploughing the earth for precisely 24 years. I was thrown out of the Jehovah's Witnesses 1995 Adar 11 and started ploughing my own furrow, and I've been doing that 24 years till today, Adar 11. And on the very day that they threw me out, it would be really wonderful if God accepted me and took this church into the ark. That would be perfect, and that would be 24 years precisely to the day after I was thrown out of the JWs. So for all those reasons, we're going with Adar 11, which is Wednesday, Thursday, March the 11th, 12th. So from sunset today, Wednesday evening, to sunset Thursday evening in the UK and in the US is when we predict these two fire signs and the beginning of World War III, which lasts 42 days now to 2020 Nisan 22. And that's it. So instead of going for the late fifth marriage Pentecost, the fifth marriage was 2019 Joseph 20, so the Pentecost was Shabbat 9, and the late Pentecost is Adar 9. Instead of going for that, we're going for the first seventh after it, because the Pentecost itself wasn't a seventh. First seventh day, the Pentecost was not a seventh day. Whereas Adar 11 is obscure, but my goodness, is it obscure. It's the seventh ark entry day for saints, in the seventh month of the third presence, in the seventh year, Tammuz 1 or Tishri 1 year, both of them, of Zoar. Whereas Solomon's temple was accepted on the seventh day of the seventh month of the seventh year of its construction, which was 1026 Tishri 7 BC, which is a lot simpler. But you'd expect this one to be more complicated. It's a little bit more sophisticated. It's not made out of stones. It's made out of people who are living stones. And the temple is in the ark, basically. It will be in the ark. The administration is in the ark. Because the mountain of Jehovah is raised, the entire mountain is raised above the top of the hills and above all the other mountains, because it's not on this planet. It's in the ark. That's Isaiah 2. And people must go up towards the mountain. Not up the mountain, up towards the mountain. The mountain is up. And most of all, the contest day ends on Adar 11, because it began 2005 ER 14, when the witnesses became prophets of Baal because they became a false church. And noon was the period of double light, when both this church and Laodicea were appointed by God to feed the 1NC reserves. And that ran from 2009 Tishri 5, the end of the LW 1NC alienation times, which began 2002 Tammuz 5. I think that's the second 1NC Pentecost in 2002. And it ran to 2009 Tammuz 5, the second 1NC Pentecost. And from then onwards, we were operational in feeding the 1NC reserves, whereas the Laodicea was installed to feed them 2003 Tebet 21, and it betrayed us for 12 years dead, the 12 years of spying, 12 spying years, and Judas being one of the 12 is a witness to 12 times precisely, and they ended on therefore 2015, actually Tebet 20, and then they got the 40-day spying test from Tebet 21 to Shabbat 30. So from Tammuz 5 2009 to Tebet 20 2015 was noon, and then you have to add so that's the length of noon, and the morning ran from 2005 ER 14 to 2009 Tammuz 5. So you add the morning to noon, you run the period from 2005 ER 14 to 2009 Tammuz 5, which is 4 years plus a month plus 21 days. You add that to Tebet 20 2015, and you get Shabbat 20 2019 plus 21 days, which takes you to Adar 11 2019. So that's the end of the contest day. And the contest is about fire signs occurring. So the fire signs must occur on Adar 11, which is March 11 12, which is Wednesday night sunset to Thursday night sunset this week. Thank you.